What's up, YouTube? Today we got another update on the Lincoln. Stay tuned. So in the last teardown video you saw, we got the timing cover off, but it was very, very dirty. So in the next clips you'll be seeing, you'll see that I got it pressure washed and cleaned up before we started taking the broken bolts out, but I didn't show that part. Okay, so we're down here in the basement again with this timing cover, and I'm trying to get them bolts out. And I got two of them out already, the ones that broke. I think one was here and the other one was here. Sorry, I can't see that. We had one here, broke, and another one here. And this one up here at the top broke even really short, even shorter than the rest. The rest I was grabbing on this side and trying to loosen. This one's the only one, though, that actually goes all the way through, so I can grab it on here. So I'm going to try to tighten it and then pull it through that way. Another thing I noticed, which I didn't show in the last video, is that we have a crack right here in the timing cover. And then it kind of curves around to a little bit behind those vice grips. So I'm going to end up having to JB weld that. To sum up a long story, I did a lot of research on a lot of different products that could fix it, and I determined that short of straight up welding it back together, which I don't have the ability to do, JB Weld, the hard cold weld, not the quick stuff, seemed like the best product to use to try to fix some of that. So we're going to be doing that in this video as well, because if it does leak, it would be an external coolant leak, and so as long as I can get it good enough where it doesn't leak coolant, it's going to be sanded down and painted over, and it should be relatively unnoticeable. And as long as it works, I'm comfortable with that. This part, once again, another part that you just simply can't find anywhere, mainly because the holes where the power steering pump mounts up are not there on the newer ones. So I basically have no choice but to salvage this part. I know a lot of people will say that using JB Weld on something like this isn't the proper way and I should replace it, and they're absolutely right. However, in this case, you have no other option. This part is not available, and I'm trying to get this vehicle put back together and go in as quickly as I can. Obviously, I'm not trying to half-ass it and take any shortcuts, but if a part's not available, it's not available. So we're going to have to work with what we got here. So anyway, we got these vice grips strongly clamped onto this bolt here. I'm going to let you guys hang out with me while I take these last couple out. One thing I'm a little bit worried about is burning my damn table, though. So what I might do is flip it over and then heat the metal on this side so that I'm not going right into my table, because I bet you this stuff will catch on fire and then my hands will look like that. So anyway, we are going to want to we're going to want to pull it this way to tighten it some more. So I've been doing about 30 to 35 seconds on this, so here we go. Alright, that was roughly 35 or 40 seconds. So we're going to give it a pull, and hopefully it'll start to twist out. Hopefully I don't make this crack worse either. That's another thing I'm worried about. Oh yeah, I forgot. I've been using this to tighten down the vice grips because they loosen up a little after the heat. You want to make sure it's real tight on there. And I hesitate to give it any bumps on the side because I really don't want to make that crack any bigger. Try to push it down maybe. Is it coming? Nope. Damn. This one's going to be a real B word. I just hope I can get it out of there without breaking something worse than it's already broke. Oh boy. Yeah, I think we might be making that crack bigger for sure. Oh my God. Yeah, I gotta stop right there because I'm making that crack significantly bigger. We'll be back. Alright guys, after being extremely careful, heating it up a little bit more, we finally got it. It's breaking loose. And I think it helps quite a bit when you're doing this kind of stuff.
to go back and forth. That way you screw up the threads as little as possible, and then you don't risk breaking something else too. And you definitely want to wear some gloves. I know this is all obvious stuff, but I'm just throwing that out there because I can't tell you how many times I've worked on stuff like this and touched something with no gloves on and been like, damn, that's hot, you know? And see, now we don't have to get it on there quite as tight because it's loosening up. So that is very, very good. Very good indeed. This is one of the fun parts of the project, having to do stuff that you would not have to do on a more modern car. I mean, not that bolts don't break, but I feel like this kind of stuff is going to happen at every corner on this thing. I'm actually very thankful that this bolt goes all the way through, because otherwise I would have had to drill it out, and I would not have wanted to deal with that. Drilling bolts is always a pain in the ass, especially if you don't have extremely sharp, basically brand new bits. You're never going to get anywhere with that. Plus, with that crack, I'd hate to go drilling and make it worse too. Speaking of that crack, they say that you should put a drill hole at the end of each crack, or each edge of the crack rather. There's that damn bolt finally. Screw this thing. But anyway, they say you should put a bolt at the end of each crack, or a drill hole at the ends of the crack, and that'll stop it from going any farther. But man, guys, I really hesitate to do that on here. I do, however, want to give it a couple of light taps with this rubber mallet. Make sure everything is kind of lined up here. Man, that sucks ass that happened. But we're going to JB weld her up. We're going to clean it up real good, of course. We're going to clean some of this shit out. And then, I think it's on that one, you can kind of see where it's been eaten away at. I don't know if it'll focus. Yeah, that's supposed to be completely smooth right there. You can kind of see the other side, not nearly. I mean, wow. So, we just got this one more bolt left here. So, I'm going to... Got to make sure to... See, you can make a mistake even doing this, because if you put these right here, they're too close to the cover, so you can't really grab them. So you kind of got to angle your work at a position where the pliers here will come out, where you can actually get a swing on it. So I'm going to get this on there, clamp it down real good, get our 4mm Allen, and we'll tighten this up a little bit. I'm very surprised that this 4mm has not snapped, because I feel like I've been putting a lot of torque on this. Alright, another 30 to 35, 40 some seconds. Here we go. Alright, it's been about 40 seconds or so. See what we can do. Oh yeah, I always forget that. Gotta tighten her up a little bit more. It's crazy how it gets extremely tight before you torch it, and then you torch it, and all of a sudden you can tighten it some more. Oh wow. Oh boy. We're gonna have to tighten this bad boy some more. We'll go back a little. I don't know. I think we're freaking crooked on it. That's not a good thing. We gotta change that. We are not looking good on this one. We gotta stay nice and flat. There we go. Tighten her up. Okay. Maybe we'll give it a tap. Did that do anything? Hell no. Oh my gosh, more trouble as usual. That sucks. We'll flip these bad boys around though. See if we can get a bite into it on this side. Oh man, guys. That sucks. I don't think I chewed any of the other ones up quite this bad. All right, I'm gonna add a few more seconds of heat. All right. Man, this thing's really eating away at. That's damn near as tight as I can tighten it right there. Break free now. Wow. And if it's not turning it, I hesitate to push it any farther. Oh. Yeah, I think it's just rounding off the damn bolt. Man, come on, guys. Root for me here. It's the last one. Oh boy. I don't think it's going to work, guys. I do not. I don't think so. Ah, come on. This is insane. I mean, wow. Here's to not getting another crack, hopefully. I'm going to try to give it a little bit of a shock. Not doing anything? No. Well, we'll be back. We also got that new gas cap in the mail today. Looking good. Well, guys, we did it. After a week or so of not messing with this thing at all, went ahead and drilled that hole out. So, hopefully it's center enough. I think that this piece right here, that little eyelash looking crack, is because I slightly mushroomed out the existing bolt when I tried to use an extractor on it. So I've got this thing cleaned up a little bit, and I went ahead and JB welded the crack on both sides. You can kind of see it there. And then also, I don't know if you guys remember, but inside of this port right here, it was super pitted, just like that. And so I went ahead and smoothed it out with some JB weld as well. Probably wasn't necessary, but I figured I'd go ahead and do it anyway. So I think the next step is to try to find what size bolt went in here. I have a couple over there that aren't broken, so I'm gonna try to figure out what size that is, put a Healy coil in it, and hope to God that that works. And before I put it all back together, I can put the old water pump back on here and put most of the bolts in and make sure that it threads up and everything. But there's no burrs right here, nothing sticking up. The hole being perfectly straight and aligned with the water pump is the only thing I'm really worried about at this point. And then, of course, we have to hope that our crack holds up here with the JB weld. Really kind of sucks ass that we have to do it like this. I would much rather just replace this part, but unfortunately that is not an option. So we got her cleaned up about as good as I reasonably can. Also, I didn't drill all the way through, but I drilled just enough through where it made just the tiniest little crack or indention on the inside of there when I was drilling through here. You can kind of see where some of my JB weld is sticking up through there. I was like literally a pinhole. It was so tiny, but I stopped right there. I did not drill any farther, put some JB weld on there, and it should be good to go as far as that. However, we have 1, 2, 3
potentially 4, if you count that, imperfections in this timing cover. So, I mean, as long as we can get it put back on there and the car runs and it doesn't leak and we can, you know, move on with some other things. I guess if it does have an issue in the future, then we'll just have to deal with that when the time comes. But pretty much got all the gasket mating surfaces reasonably clean and smooth, or as reasonably clean and smooth as they can get. And that's pretty much where we're at right now on the Lincoln project. I need to get a Healy coil, and I need to get some gaskets. I'm also going to get like some regular gray primer, prime it up. We're going to paint it Ford blue, and then put it on the car and hope that it lasts forever. Fingers crossed, guys. All right, guys, we're getting closer and closer to getting this timing cover restored. Got our JB weld kind of smoothed out for the most part. Got it on both sides over the crack. Then we went ahead and put some primer on there, and we got some good old Ford engine blue. So all I have left to do is paint it, and then I'm going to sand off the gasket surfaces. I'm going to try not to get really any paint in here, and I didn't even put primer on this side because obviously this side touches the oil, and I don't want a bunch of paint coming off into my oil. I don't think it would, but just in case. And then I'm going to try to only put primer on this area inside the water pump. I don't want to have a bunch of paint in there either, but I figured just hitting the whole thing with that will give me a clean slate, essentially. At least it looks like a part that's worth trying to do something with and restore. So I'm basically just going to be painting the bottom section of the front, as well as the sides, the top, and then other side here. But I won't be painting anything at all on the back side or the bottom here, because that's all either gasket mating surfaces or it's, you know, going to be inside a fluid system of the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this up. And besides that, the only other thing I got to do is either thread this hole and use a larger bolt, or put a Healy coil in it so I can use the original size bolt, and we should be good to go. Got her taped off a little bit, and that's after one coat of paint. Looking real good. It's going to look like a brand new Ford engine when we're done with it, even though unfortunately it isn't. But as long as this thing doesn't leak, should be good to go, and it'll look real good on there. I do believe this is the exact same color that it was before. You guys are in the shadow, kind of. When I look at it in person, it looks a little bit lighter. Yeah, it looks darker there, but then in the sun, if I can get it in the sun, it's kind of like that color. So that's what it's really going to look like, you know, with some light on it. Looks pretty good. I like it. We'll put another coat on there here in about 10 minutes, and then we'll call it good. Well, guys, I screwed up. I got the correct size I needed. I got the Healy coil kit, and I even got all new bolts, the main water pump bolts, the short ones, and then we got these long ones that go all the way through the timing cover and the water pump. So we got all new bolts for that. I will probably reuse the bolts on the lower section that go down here, because every single one of those came out relatively easy, and I've cleaned all of these holes out very well, and I'm going to clean those bolts up as well and probably just reuse those. But since so many of these broke, obviously I don't have a choice, but even on the other ones, I just didn't think it was worth chancing it, especially because the long bolts actually thread into the engine block, and I definitely don't want to deal with any bolts snapping off into the block. Bolts snapping off into the timing cover was bad enough. So unfortunately, I got the Healy coil in there. Everything was pretty much good to go. And then I put the water pump on to test it. And of course, just my luck, it does not line up. The hole is slightly off center. So what I think I'm going to have to do is fill that entire hole with JB Weld the best that I can. This is getting really crazy now, guys. I mean, we're kind of desperate at this point to fix this bad boy, but I think my only hope is to fill that with JB Weld, and then I'm going to drill through this hole in the water pump into the JB Weld. Then we're going to tap it and put a Healy coil in the JB Weld, and then hopefully the Healy coil will be stronger than just threaded JB Weld. You know, I'll put the JB Weld in there just to fill the wallered out area, because if I drill down in here without anything to fill it up, it's going to be more of an oval shaped hole. So unfortunately, I am going to have to put something in there some kind of way, because we need that hole to be pretty much perfectly circular. So that's pretty much where we're at now. Unfortunately, this broken bolt is really screwing me over big time. However, that is the last thing that we need to do on this timing cover, and it will be ready to be reinstalled on the vehicle. And obviously it will not be installed with that piece on there. That's just what we have for now to line up the holes and everything. And realistically, guys, I probably should have drilled it like this to begin with, but you live and learn, I suppose. I am no machinist by any means, so we're kind of learning things as we go. And unfortunately, because of my inability to weld and my lack of those type of tools and equipment, I'm pretty much resorting to stuff like this, stuff like that. Pretty much all I can do with my level of experience and you know, my budget and all of that. All right, sorry for the noise from my compressor, guys, but we got it done. It does stick up just barely. You can barely drag your finger on it, but I've ground it down just a little bit. But I got that hole centered up. You can kind of see on the left side there where the JB weld is filling the hole. I put the water pump on top of it. Everything bolts up and all the bolts tighten down all the way. I do plan to use RTV in addition to this gasket, so I don't think that the very, very small amount that sticks up is going to cause any issues. I've tried to grind it down a little bit, but I don't want to grind it too much and make this not flat anymore. But I think with the RTV, it'll probably be all right. I just hesitate to try to grind too much or to try to clip that off or something and screw up the threads. I think I'm just going to leave well enough alone on this. Had to do a couple minor paint touch-ups because I did sand this gasket surface again on both sides. Also did the fuel pump area as well to get all that primer and paint off. And so there's just a couple small little spots on the top here and one next to the fuel pump mounting spot that I had to redo where I hit the paint with my sand wheel. But here in about a day or so, I think that thing will be ready to put back on the car. Just need to get some gaskets that go behind it between it and the engine, and the seal here needs to be replaced. I done painted it blue, and then there's two small oil pan gaskets that come with the kit as well. So I'm going to be putting that back on. I still need to clean up the front of the engine, and I'm probably going to do the front of the engine in that color as well before I put it on, just kind of half-ass at least so it looks good, and we'll see what that looks like. Stay tuned. Alright, so yesterday we got this half of the front of the engine all painted up. Didn't really care about overspray because I'm going to be redoing the valve covers anyway. Same with the spark plug wires and battery cables and all that. So I just tried not to get it on the timing chain, even though I'm probably going to go ahead and replace that as well. But anyway, over there, as you can see, the AC compressor has now been removed. We'll go ahead and walk over there. Took the AC compressor off. No refrigerant whatsoever came out, just as I expected, which is, I guess, good and bad, because I would have had a hell of a time getting it somewhere to recover it. But I assumed there wasn't anything in there, and I was right. So, anyway, this is kind of what the left side of the engine looked like before. You literally have a after and before instead of before and after. So, here soon, that's kind of what the whole front of the motor is going to look like. Ideally, you know, this would be pulled out and everything would be stripped off of it, but I ain't gonna do all that. There's no reason to. I think this engine will run great once I just get all the accessories taken care of. But looking good, definitely, I think so. Once we get this side all sanded down and everything. And I'm probably gonna go ahead and remove the condenser now that we've opened up the AC system, and then I can get down in there and paint that up real good and make it look nice too, so there's not a bunch of rusty looking shit everywhere. But just wanted to throw this little update in there. We won't get to see that too much. Go ahead and keep it there. Maybe I'll make that my thumbnail or something. That looks pretty cool. Nice before and after. Moving along, moving along. Another thing I want to say too is this fuel line seems like it'll be a lot easier to get out of there with that AC compressor out of the way, so I'm kind of happy about that. Over here with the radiator, I got the condenser out, and I didn't really film that, but it's just a couple bolts here at the top, and then there's these brackets here at the bottom that have studs sticking down off of them, and those studs go through a plate that I'll show you here in a second. Then there was a connection at the bottom of the condenser right there, super rusty, and then the other connection was right here at the top for the lines, and the bottom studs of the condenser went through those holes in this plate here. I don't know why it's not wanting to focus. There we go. The middle one and the outer two were not part of the condenser, but those outer middle two is where the condenser went through.
Here's the spot where the condenser was, all cleaned up under the radiator and the condenser. Went ahead and cleaned it all off real good, sprayed it down with a coat of primer and a coat of black paint, and obviously it doesn't look brand new, but it looks a hell of a lot better than it did before. And all of that's going to be covered up by the radiator and the condenser, so as long as it's just a solid black color, it doesn't look like rust or anything underneath or on the few spots that you can see, I'll be just fine with that. I think it looks good enough, and I just figured I would get something done as far as cleaning that up the best I can while I have this perfect opportunity to do so with all of that space there. And also went ahead and took off the timing chain. I do still need to clean up and paint the other side of the engine, but got the timing chain off. I figured while I'm in here, might as well go ahead and replace the timing components as well. That way, hopefully I never ever have to pull the timing cover back off again, and all of that will be good to go for a very long time. And that's going to be the end of the Lincoln update video for today. This particular part of the build is probably going to be split into like 3 or 4 videos by the time we get the whole front end of the engine and engine bay put back together with all the belt-driven accessories, radiator, and AC condenser. But we are definitely moving right along, making some progress. If you're enjoying these videos, please leave a like below. If you've got a project car going on, I'd love to hear about that in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate that. Otherwise, hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.